Welcome to the Gaming Coop, the best space to talk about the aughts. Let's introduce today's players. Player 1, call me Dr. Eggman because I am out to transform your pussy. It's Gabe.
The fuck?
Player 2 is certifiably not a pyramid scheme. It's Anthony.
Yes.
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 Super uber. Player 3. It's Kelsey.
I'm so happy whoever did that. Thank you.
Player 4, Matt the Me will be joining us today, so that makes 3. It's Walsh. Player 5, the motion picture you are about to see is an adaptation of the Exodus story. While artistic and historical license has been taken, we believe that this film is true to the essence, values, and integrity of a story that is a cornerstone of faith for millions of people worldwide. It's Chris. Is that Prince of Egypt?
Prince of Egypt.
Okay.
Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh,
Just making sure.
that's great.
Just making sure. All right. Player 6. A boy looked up at his father. Yes, son. Dad, you said I could be anything I wanted when I grow up. But do you really think I could be a sequel to the hit 2004 game released for Windows, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, developed by Pandemic Studios and published by LucasArts, which achieved a roughly 80% Metacritic score across all platforms? The dad thought for a second and then replied, yes, son. I do believe you could be Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's Matt.
Wow.
Oh, did Anthony do that one?
Yeah.
Anthony
Okay.
absolutely did that one.
All right. We're all on the same page. All right. Anyways, welcome everyone to another Gaming Coop. We are in a new year. New year, new us.
It's still only January.
It's still only fucking
Ugh.
January. I thought about that
God.
today. I was like, God, this has been the longest month of my
Like
life.
this is the first episode that we're filming in the new year. Are you shitting me right now?
It is. It has
Haven't you
been
done like
a time.
18 VBBFL recordings
We,
since
you know
the
what?
new year?
Probably.
Like it.
That is most definitely what has happened. But today, to ring in the new year, we decided to go back a few years, go back a decade or two. It's I guess a 2 at this point. Fuck. And we are going to talk about the 2000 to 2009 or 10, I guess, era of video games, an era that all of us were children during that time. I don't think any one of us have I don't know if anyone was anyone 18 here in that time. I'm pretty sure we were all children. Just want
I
to
mean,
clarify.
Yeah, no, because
yeah,
yeah. Anthony and I graduated high school in 2011,
yeah. So there you
so
go.
we were 18 after
We're on
that.
the cusp.
We were
On
cusp.
the- but yeah, so we're going to talk about that era of video games. One that I hold very fondly, and I'm sure everyone here does as well. Just like our good friend Gabe holds this game in high regard from his childhood. It is Sonic Heroes. Gabe, talk to us about Sonic Heroes.
Okay. So I'll start with a bit of a preface. Sonic Heroes released on the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 on December 30th, 2003 in Japan. This game is very, very close to my heart in several regards. I honestly still think it's my favorite 3D Sonic to this day, and I find it to be very hard to top. Granted, a lot of that has to do with nostalgia, but I still think, to me, it holds like every core element of a Sonic game that's necessary to have it be like a really cool experience, at least to me. So each port, or it started on the GameCube. It was meant it started development on the GameCube, and then it got ported to the Xbox, and then ported to the PS2. I grew up with the PS2 version, which is considered the worst version, mainly because it runs the worst, and there's a lot more glitches and stuff. It's just a very bad port, but I loved it regardless. Like it was just like it was good enough in my eyes when I was a kid. It wasn't until very later in my life, like I'm like 3 years ago, until I played the actual GameCube port, And good lord, it runs smooth as butter compared to the PS2 version. But yeah, other than that, there's not really many differences between each version other than the GameCube being the intended platform it was released on, meaning it runs the best on the GameCube. So a bit of a quick summary of the story. Four different groups of 3 characters from the Sonic franchise. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles for Team Sonic. Shadow, Rouge, the Bat, and Omega, E123 Omega for Team Dark. Espio the Chameleon, Vector the Crocodile, Charmy Bee for Team Chaotix, and then Amy Rose, Cream the Rabbit, and Big the Cat for Team Rose. Each team has their own campaign to go through. They all go through the same stages, but they all have their own spin on them. Team Sonic is meant to be like the base experience of the game, so like everything is as in like originally designed in Team Sonic. Team Dark is meant to be like the more advanced mode, the hard mode, not the more difficult mode where the stages are longer, there are more enemies, the level design is a lot more tight. Team Rose is
Easy mode.
Easy mode, yeah. Sorry, I had a brain fart, and it's the only is the only group that has a tutorial, which means it's intended to be like baby game. It's really easy. There are less stages in the campaign. The stages
Then why is it not the first one listed?
I don't know. The stages are much shorter. The special stages are so much easier, and just it's a much more laid back experience overall. And then Team Chaotix is when things get interesting, because each level has its own specific gimmick attached to it. Like, find this many Chow before you reach the end of the stage, otherwise you have to go to the beginning and look through it all over again. Put out this many torches using a character's ability, or like, just earn 50 million bajillion rings in the casino stage. Like, it's just different objectives to go through for each stage, and it's definitely the worst one, but because it's really unbalanced. But each campaign holds their own place, and I think they fit nicely. So the story general overview, Team Sonic got to stop Eggman. Team Dark, they need to find Shadow's identity. I don't know.
Guess that's what they call it these days.
Yeah. Team Rose, they're looking for a Chow and Froggy, and they just gotta find them. And then Team Chaotix are doing a job for a undisclosed third party, trying to find secrets into Dr. Eggman's base and stuff. Like, they're just trying to find intel. And they all combine forces into the final story, which is like just the final boss of the game, like the true final boss, which is Metal Sonic. I adore this game so much. Mm-hmm. To me, I like I said before, it's my favorite 3D Sonic game because I feel like while the controls can be a little slippery at times, I feel like this game is very kinetic. Like you can book it through a stage while not slowing down at all, or you can take your time with it. Like, it's up to you. There is no time limit. There is no like there are lives, but there is no time limit. And the only thing that changes is your grade at the end, which doesn't really do much unless you're going for all A ranks. But it's very much like I wouldn't say it's like that one Mario 64 creepypasta meme where each game is personalized, but it's like it's up to you on how you want to take the game, and I think it's very fun in that regard. When I was a kid, I would just book it through all the stages, trying to complete each stage as fast as possible, and getting all A ranks was generally a really difficult task because it requires really tight, really precision platforming and collecting as many points as possible and just doing all that stuff. It also received a PC port. I've never played it myself. I hear it's decent, but I don't know if it's still on Steam as of today because I don't have Steam on my computer, so I'm not sure. Ever since the Sonic game purge happened because of Sonic Origins releasing, I don't know about anything.
Sonic Heroes, as far as I can tell, is not on Steam.
Okay, so it got removed. It probably got removed during the Sonic game purge, so which is unfortunate. So I guess the only accessible way to do it is through pirating.
There you
go. I
Dolphin
recommended doing it on Dolphin. Yeah, Dolphin is absolutely a must. But
then you can't play the PS2 version.
why would you? Why would you do that? Why?
That's the version I owned. Guess who never beat the game.
Be better. Be better. Become
Skill
better
issue.
like I did.
Skill issue.
But
I'm sorry, when you fall through a vine every single time you pass over it
Skill issue.
on the
Yeah,
fucking jungle level.
It's a skill issue, yeah.
Okay, so I'll just quickly fly through the gameplay. You control a team of 3. There are 3 different character types. There's a speed character type, flying character type, and powered character type. Speed is all about speed. It's pretty self-explanatory. Power allows you to break through enemies easier and break through obstacles. And then flying type it allows your character of that class to lift all 3 of the characters up and fly for a short period of time, or shoot them to attack airborne enemies. I think it's pretty balanced because all 3 of them have their uses and they're pretty widespread. I think I personally found my favorite to be the flying, even though I liked speeding through the stages because it was really easy to just take out enemies with it. It was just because it homed in on enemies. You don't have to aim. All you had to do was aim in the general area, and it would just be easy day. The music in this game, so good. It's so good. I still remember so many tunes, just as if I just listened to them. This game made Sonic music for me. Like, I think it's peak Sonic music because it's so varied. It fits so many different moods. It's just it's so much fun, and the visuals of the game are so much fun too. I know it's kind of divisive, like having the shorter Sonic models, but I think they're some of the most expressive, like, at least to me, especially in the game that came out after Shadow the Hedgehog, where they really went for it with the expressiveness of all the models. But yeah, I love the game's art style, I love the music, I love the gameplay, just everything about the game just really speaks to me on a personal level, and it stuck with me throughout all these years.
It's a fun game beyond the glitchy bits. I do like the multiple paths. I think it's like one of the more ambitious Sonic games that I've played, just having all of those. And the 3-player system is definitely the three team system is definitely like the best part about the game. Really like how switching between characters and how, like, despite it being different, like, you still have a feel of what each character should be like because they all fit into those 3 roles. That said, because it was so glitchy, I would always stay with the power one because it was just the easiest way to kill enemies and not go so fast that you run through every wall that you see.
Good old Sonic.
I assure you, it wasn't like that on the GameCube version.
Yeah, and go ahead, Wash.
Nothing. I think that, to me, it just feels like the kind of game that, especially as a kid, you could so easily get engrossed into. And I think that's why maybe it has issues. I haven't played it myself, but it seems like you just get instantly pulled into it.
Yeah.
So the main theme is really good.
Yeah, Sonic music, that's just like, you can hate Sonic with a passion, and I don't think you can deny how good the music is throughout most of the franchise.
Yep.
In general. I feel like I would have probably loved this game if I owned it. I did not have that. I didn't really have like a huge Sonic fandom at all growing up, and nor have I
didn't even know Sonic existed growing up.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I think the first
I don't know why.
time,
I don't know what I was doing, but
yeah, I feel like the first time Sonic entered my life in any capacity, it was in the DS game, like Sonic Rush, I want to say it was.
Yes.
And I
Nice.
I did not I think I played that a little bit, and I don't think I stuck with it. But I bounced off games all the time as a kid. Like I just had a very very small attention span. But I just love the way that Sonic looks, and I feel like from a 3D point of view, I'd probably enjoy the Sonic games a lot more if I really gave them a chance in that vein. I've only played Sonic Mania in more recent years, and didn't really. I made it through like the first couple of worlds, but I fell off of it because I just don't think it's my kind of platformer in that vein. But yeah, like this game just looks like it's a ton of fun. I could see the fun of switching between the characters and different abilities, and and how cool it must feel to like bounce around and run around in these environments. It like, yeah, like it doesn't look amazing, but I think it looks like the art style is fantastic, and as it usually is with these Sonic games, and just I love the idea of like running through these worlds as these teams. Like that the idea of that just seems really cool. I might try it at some point, is I guess what I'm getting at. Because it is something that I feel like I don't know, I feel like I'd get into.
Yeah, the levels look like a lot of fun.
Just the locales are so varied. Like there's the general like checkerboard beach or checkerboard grassland area. There's like a haunted castle. There's a lush jungle with giant frogs in it. There's like a skyborn casino like / pinball area. Like it's just so wildly varied, but it still feels like like it would be actual locales in the Sonic universe.
Absolutely.
So I don't know anything about Sonic other than what I've like listened to Gabe talk about. I couldn't even tell you, like, if you were like, yeah, there's a game called Sonic Heroes, I'd be like, yes, there is. Like, I wouldn't even question you. You could tell me anything. I know so little that, Gabe, I wrote your intro. Because I was just trying to find something short and sweet and relevant to provide for your intro. I ended up being misdirected to Pornhub at one point. Anthony ended up on like a very not safe for work image search. And we were trying to just figure out the context for some of these, like, because I literally was Googling like Sonic pickup lines or like Sonic one-liner jokes. And the context was not given for any of this. So I just want to know, is this just a poorly written pickup line, what we had read for your intro?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, can we repeat it?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead, Chris.
Call me Dr. Eggman because I am out to transform your pussy.
That's hilarious.
Like, so it's like, so I said to Anthony, I was like, listen, I know jack shit about Sonic, right? So I'm like, maybe it's like a pun because at one point, maybe there's like a plot line where he's like trying to steal someone's cat and they've made it suggestive. Like, I was trying so hard. I wasted so many man hours on this today that like essentially funded like me looking at Sonic jokes at one point, like I was on my lunch hours, so they didn't really fund it, but like,
sure,
still, it's a problem. There's not, and if there's no reference, then I got to tell you, Gabe, I think you could freelance as like somebody who writes actual good Sonic jokes because they don't exist. Like I was pulling from a very dry pool today and it was upsetting.
See, I guess it works because Eggman transforms animals into robots, but like what?
But like
I took that as like he's gonna roboticize my pussy.
I don't know. That's what I mean. Like, I don't even know what Eggman does. So, like, call me Dr. Eggman because I'm out to get that pussy, like, or out to transform your pussy. Like, I don't understand. Like, and it really was bothering me after a while. I kept saying, poor Anthony. Poor Anthony was in a meeting that he was recording all day, and I literally just kept sending him really poorly written one-offs, and he'd go, what the fuck? And I'd go, what the fuck? Like, we both just kept going, what the fuck? Because we don't know.
I feel like it's the equivalent of saying, "Call me Dr. Ape Man because penis."
Mean.
That's the.
I don't think it means anything. I think it's just a
Yeah.
poorly written joke.
Wait, so then can I just, if you don't mind, if you'll just humor me for a second, I've just
I
just-
spent a lot of time
all
on
right.
this.
No, I promise I won't actually spend that much time. Am I the next segment after Gabe?
No, Anthony is.
Okay, well, I will trim mine down to be able to just say one or two more things. Also,
Sure.
is there any way that I can like record me going redacted and you just fit that in over the fact that I gave my place of work on this podcast? Because I really didn't, I
As a
immediately
beep.
regretted saying it.
Chris can do a beep
Sure.
sound effect or something.
Okay,
Sure,
fine,
sure.
whatever.
I will have to write it down, but
Okay.
or message me. I'll remember.
Okay. Hey, Gabe,
Yes.
what does what does Muslim Sonic say when Ramadan begins?
What does he say?
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
That's
Oh.
that's actually wow.
That's great.
It's not even bad. It is just like it's not inappropriate. It's not making fun of Islam. Like it's
It's
literally just
It's also
No.
not funny, but
it's not funny. That's the point. Like it's not bad, and yet
That's
it's completely
hilarious.
bad. And then this was one where I was like, I don't know if this. At first, I had no idea if this was actually a joke or not because I thought it was just something that was really shittily written. I then Googled it and found out that apparently this is something that is said often in the games. But it's what does Sonic the Hedgehog say when he's had a record of vitamin C deficiency?
Long time no see.
Yeah. So like
Long time no
when you're
see.
somebody who doesn't know the games, when you don't know that they say that all the time, you look at that and go, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" So
I know exactly. They do say long time no see a
right,
lot.
so then I Googled it and I was like, Sonic the Hedgehog, long time no see. And I got like a YouTube video that was like a compilation of them saying it. So I was like, all right.
it is the hardest video in the world to watch. I hate that video so much.
Oh, it's actually okay. So see, I'm so removed that
Long
I don't
time no
even
see.
know. There was one that Anthony was like, "Oh my god, I don't think you can say that." I will not share it here. I will just send it to Gabe. But
Please
Sure,
do.
sure.
Also want to see it.
all right, so I'll just post it in the chat.
I will
Okay.
not say it out loud. Yeah, no, that's pretty bad.
And here's Anthony.
The audience,
yeah.
no, it's not bad in like a punny kind of way. It's bad as in like a very dark,
Like, oh
bad
god.
humor kind of
Yeah.
way.
It's very dark,
Yeah.
right? So I have to tell you, this is why, Chris, this is why I was the last person to hand in my intro today because this derailed me in the middle of my day. And then I like never recovered, and then it was suddenly 8:25, and I was like, "Holy shit! I didn't make a decision." And I sprinted across the house.
So, Kelsey basically hunkered down in a shelter to write her jokes, just like everyone hunkers down in a shelter in Fallout 3. I had to do that on a second take, and
Just as funny the second time.
Yeah, just as funny, just worked just as well. Also, Gabe did have to depart after the first segment, so but we were glad that we at least got to hear him talk about Sonic Heroes. But Anthony, it is your time to talk about Fallout 3.
All right, so Fallout 3 is the fucking GOAT, and anyone who has played Fallout 3 may find that funny. But Fallout 3 is like on the very cusp of this discussion because it came out in 2009. And it was such... I wasn't a Fallout fan at the time, but imagine, if you will, that you played Fallout 1 and 2, and it was this 2D isometric game that essentially took like a D&D style character development and skill check and all that kind of stuff. And the series had gone dormant for like 10 years. And there were rumors of them making new games. And they released one that is so bad that Fallout fans just collectively pretend it does not exist. And then one day, out of nowhere, Todd Howard, the fucking legend behind Elder Scrolls Morrowind and Oblivion, is like, hey, we're doing a 3D Fallout, and it's coming out in about a year and a half. And this game got a 90 on Metacritic on all 3 platforms that it launched on, which were Xbox
Wow.
360, PS3, and PC. And by and large, people were like, holy shit, they did it. They took a 2D isometric turn-based RPG and adapted it into a 3D first-person shooter. And they took along all of those little character building ideas that you had, because as you play through the game, you increase your attributes, and they do things like represent how much science your character knows and how good they are at being a computer hacker, or picking locks, or talking to people and trying to convince them of things, or especially weapons and how good you are at different classes of weapon. And it did something really unique in that, in sort of a way to tie it back to its 2D turn-based roots, they added something called VATS, which is called the Vault Assisted Targeting System, where if you're in the middle of this first-person shooter firefight, you can press a button and your computer terminal that's on your wrist freezes time and highlights your enemies and gives you different percentage points for how likely you are to hit different body parts of theirs. So you can be like, yeah, I want to shoot at their head 3 times. And then you see that combat sequence play out. And if you can actually skill into things that make that even better and more effective. And you can just walk through the game just completely controlling the flow of combat if you want to. But that's just kind of it in terms of gameplay. It's this giant open world post-apocalyptic setting. And the plot is that this is 100 years after the US and China threw nukes at each other. And that itself is built on years of mankind just consuming resources faster than they can be created. And the game's narrative itself plays with these ideas of capitalism, consumerism, and almost like xenophobia in a way. And it kind of lets you draw your own conclusions, but the resounding message here is that the world was destroyed by these things. And it plays with those themes in different ways that I really like. And in regards to its cast, it has made all of our dreams come true because Liam Neeson is your dad. And Ron Perlman is the narrator for it. Like, you've probably seen the meme, like, war never changes.
Yeah.
That iconic line is from the opening of this game, and they've used it in every Fallout since. I don't know if it was in the original ones, but I think it definitely made its mark with this one. And I remember my first time playing the game. I really didn't know what to expect. And I remember loading it up, playing through the intro sequence and going out into the wastelands. And I was definitely a bit more like timid and scared in games than I am now. And I remember seeing this like bombed out, destroyed elementary school. I'm like, oh wow, like what a cool abandoned location to explore and check out. And I walked inside. I'm going to spoiler this image because it's a little graphic. And the second that you walk into the elementary school, you see this giant cage with a bloody mattress and human torso on it. And all around the room, there are torsos hung up by chains from the walls and the ceiling. and you hear this dreadful, droning, anxiety-inducing soundtrack by Einon Zur. And you see little blips indicating enemies on the mini-map. Kind of. It's like a compass. And the enemies actually taunt you, and they call for you to like come out from wherever you're hiding. And I remember just like literally having a little mentee bee when I played this as a teenager because
Aw.
I was scared shitless. The setting is so well done and so unnerving. And eventually I powered through it. I killed the raiders that were hiding out in this abandoned school. And you do become kind of desensitized to this kind of violence as you play through the game, but there's always the atmosphere and the narrative and the sound effects and the soundtrack are so effective at creating this sense of lingering dread. And you never really know what is going to happen next. And for that reason, it's also incredible how much Fallout sort of panders to this sci-fi B-movie sort of scenario writing. Because just as much as you can...
B movie?
No,
Do you
no,
like
not
jazz?
Singular letter
no,
B.
No.
I'm
Because
so
just
confused.
A B
like-
movie is like a movie that's like not quite as A-list movie.
Oh, okay, but not like B movie. Okay, no,
No,
that's
that's
right.
that's
Yeah.
the
Not-
pun
I'm
that
not
B
so
movie was named
sorry.
after.
I just got very confused. I'm so
That's
sorry.
okay. I
I did
also
not
had
mean to
that thought.
interrupt.
I'm sorry. Because like just as much as you can walk into like this literal torture dungeon, you can also wander into a giant town that's under siege by these like giant ants that got made giant through some science experiment. Or you can wander into this little society where people are being kept in these sort of like dream capsules, and they're being terrorized in this idyllic 1950s neighborhood by somebody named the Pint-Sized Slasher, which is just a kid with a knife.
Huh.
And you can get abducted by aliens, and you can find a grove where this person got so much radiation that they fused with a tree and are now have been stuck in place for 200 years.
Oh, of
And
course.
all of these other really silly little fun things that just bring joy to such a silly sort of atmosphere. There are even vampires in this game, and they have this very fun theme of like a kid who ran away from home and he's different now, and he has to choose whether he wants to live with the vampires or try and go back to his old neighborhood. And it just kind of fills this world with so much color, even though the color palette is like brown, right? Brown and green. And as you can see in the screenshots, but the actual content itself is so varied and colorful that it's really fun to explore. And even though it's open world, it's before you would take like 30 minutes or even more, like 2 hours to walk from one end of the map to the other. You can actually cover the Fallout 3 map in a pretty reasonable amount of time. And every location has like, you know, a few valuable pieces of loot or something really unique to make it worth your while, which I think is important and fun. And I think probably the last point I really want to touch on with Fallout is the story, and sort of the major factions in the game. Because when I played Fallout 3, there's a very simple good versus evil narrative, right? You end up joining the Brotherhood of Steel, and in this game, they're, for the most part, painted as like the unequivocal good guys. And you're fighting against the Enclave, who just want to like experiment on and kill people, right? So it's like good versus evil. The Brotherhood of Steel wants to save everybody. The Enclave wants to torture and kill them. And at the time, I went on to play Fallout New Vegas, which had a more gray morality slant to it. It's like the good guys are spread too thin, and the bad guys have like a cohesive idea that they can actually make improvements, and nobody's really good and nobody's really bad. Except, I mean, in New Vegas, they are really bad, but it's kind of refreshing now to play through a game that just wears good and evil on its sleeve. And like you can even take perks in the game to solidify whether you're a good person or a bad person. Like if you're good, when you kill a bad person, they'll have a finger that you can take from them to sell for like good karma and money. And if you're a bad person, you take their ear and you get even more bad karma and money. And it's like, do you want to enslave people and get money from it? Or do you want to free people and be like, and give away water to the homeless? It's kind of refreshingly simple to see a game narrative that you don't really have to sit there and unpack. And I know that really sounds like a con, but it's kind of bringing me back to a time when gaming was a lot more simple and straightforward. And I think for that reason, it's a lot more refreshing to play through it today.
That was like a really good narrative.
Yeah.
Can we talk about, like, if you look at, I want everybody to look up what Fallout 1 and 2 look like. Because I think to me, every time I imagined Fallout, I was just imagining Fallout 3. You know?
Yeah. It is so bizarre how there is there's something about the third game in a series, because like GTA 3 was such a huge game at the time because it broke into the open world format. I think it basically kind of created the open world format, and compared to the first two games, which were like top down action games, like completely different from what GTA ended up becoming. And it's very weird seeing like franchises where they start out as one thing and they how much they actively change and evolve, and how this really worked for Fallout as well. Sorry, that's it. I know I just realized I interrupted what you were saying, Walsh.
Oh, not at all. That's basically what I was getting to. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, they pulled it off. Like,
Yeah.
Obsidian fucking did it. Oh, sorry, this isn't Obsidian. This is Bethesda. But
Right.
still, like, dude, they did it. This is when people talk about Bethesda and their glory days, it's translating a game like this in the period of like 2 to 3 years of work. It's incredible.
Yeah. Like I think about God of War too, in that sense, right? Where God of War was such a different game, with back in like the early in the 2000s, when it was like this more like further out camera. You're moving around, you're just killing people, a lot more brutal, not as much of there was story to it, but it wasn't as deep as this one. And then what God of War 2018 was, and what God of War Ragnarok ended up being like, how different those games ended up being compared to the originals. I even think about the future of Bethesda right now and think like this is such a huge year for them, because it's been a while since
Mhm.
they've really had something really special come out of that original development studio. And what is if Starfield can match that? But to bring it back to Fallout 3, like it is definitely, I think, a game that I don't think I could really get into. Maybe I could, maybe it's I could do the thing where I did with Skyrim, where I just turn on like immunity mode.
EGM.
Yeah, exactly. But the goriness and the dark vibes of it, I think might hold me back, kind of similar to how I feel about like The Last of Us. Like, I even if I had full ability to play that game, I just don't know if I would. But I I still have a lot of respect for it, and I think it is always held to in such a high regard. I know that like Skyrim is a game that everyone looks back at with Bethesda is like that. That's the peak of what Bethesda could do. But there's a lot of people who are very much more in the Fallout camp of like, no, Fallout 3 was at its best, and then Obsidian. I know I know you initially were saying Obsidian for this game, but New Vegas when it, like that was also like such an innovation of what they started with Fallout 3, and then and then Obsidian did New Vegas, and that was such a huge hit. People like fucking adore that. Yeah, it's just a really impressive franchise. It's one it's a bummer that we're not going to get another one for a while, but this is like it's just one of those games that you're like one of the most recognizable video games and video game franchises out there, truly.
Yeah. And I do have one small story to tell if nobody has any other thoughts that they wanted to get out first.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. So in Fallout 3, there's a character named Three Dog, and he's voiced by Eric Todd Dellums. And Three Dog has such a great voice in the game. Like, he's this radio host, and he's cool, and he's got these little quips, and he reports on all the progress that you do. And Eric Dellums just gave him such a lovable personality, like fan favorite character. People were like, you need to bring back Eric Dellums in Fallout 4, right? So after Fallout New Vegas released, there's a lot of controversy about bad blood between Obsidian and Bethesda. And the Fallout franchise kind of went silent for a while. And there were rumors coming out about what Fallout 4 would be, and they were fake. People would get really excited about like, oh, it should be happening any minute now, and then it turned out to be wrong. And Eric Todd Dellums had a podcast, and he would say things like, for all my Fallout 3 fans, I've got something special for you coming up this Thursday. And Thursday would come, and it would be Eric Dellums' podcast. And he would, pretend to be Three Dog or whatever for a little bit. But he kept playing on like having really juicy, really spicy news to share. Like, you're not going to want to miss this if you're a fan of Fallout. And after a little while, people started to get really pissed. And then, all of a sudden, Eric Dellums announced that he was fired from Fallout and that he would not be returning for Fallout's next project. And because I am really petty, and because Eric Dellums got my hopes up, I responded to his tweet, and I said, I guess this is what happens when you tease your fans. And that is the story of how I got blocked by one of the most beloved voice actors in Fallout 3.
I can't. Your pettiness just knows very little bounds.
He also has completely ruined his goodwill in the community. People hardly talk about him anymore. They mostly just refer to his NPC.
How do you spell his name again?
That is ERIK DELLUMS. His middle name is Todd.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I don't even know. I haven't even seen this guy before. Yeah, that's what a weird situation.
What a fun guy.
He apparently also voiced Nazir in Skyrim.
Oh. Okay. Nazir was kind of a wet rag anyway.
Fair enough.
Do you not remember who Nazir is, Chris?
It's been a year.
Isn't Nazir the guy that gives you all of your contracts at the Dark Brotherhood?
You might be
Am
right.
I thinking, or is it the Cloud District guy? Hold on.
It's no. It says say Dark Brotherhood. Yes, I do.
Brotherhood.
I recognize him.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the guy that gives you all your contracts in Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah. I got it.
I remembered he was a Red Guard.
Well, we're gonna transition now from the brown nature of Fallout
I just have
3
to say that, like, as a
to-
general rule of thumb, that when I talk about Anthony, my husband, to other people, like, I'm like, he's the best. I love him. He's my best friend. He treats me so well. He's fantastic. He's the pettiest bitch I know. And I swear to God, that is the line. That's exactly how I say it. I'm like, my husband is the pettiest bitch I know. Like, I swear to God, no other person, woman, anybody that I've ever met in my life is as petty as my husband. And it's I don't even say it as a negative trait. It's just a fact. It just can't be denied.
I can't help it.
We're gonna transition from the brown of Fallout 3 to the white snow of SSX 3. Kelsey, let's talk some SSX. SSX 3, which I'm sure for a lot of people are like, what about Tricky? Fuck you, SSX 3 is great. Anyways, continue, Kelsey.
Wow.
Damn.
Sorry.
I was just waiting to be like, what a creative transition, and then you got all spicy about it.
Well,
Controversial.
because like I love SSX Tricky.
This isn't
but, like,
me dismissing SSX Tricky.
No,
I think, and part of the thing for me is that I didn't know SSX Tricky existed. I think that I randomly either received as a gift or randomly bought from Game Crazy, our local Game Crazy, SSX 3. So, and then we discovered SSX Tricky because we loved SSX 3 so much, and it just didn't always hit the same way that SSX 3 did. It was had different style, had a different vibe. I will not be discussing SSX Tricky because I didn't play it as much. I played the absolute shit out of SSX 3.
Hell yeah.
So are we good? Did you want to say anything more?
No, sorry.
You're good.
Just got on my soapbox for a second. Go ahead.
That's all right. You're allowed. Okay, so SSX 3 is an EA big sports game, and it came out on GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, which I was unaware of, and the Gizmondo, which I only just understood as a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing that existed, and it was essentially a little handheld gaming console in the UK originally, and then eventually came to the US, but I had no idea that was a thing, which I thought was cool. But it came out in October 2003, and it is a snowboarding game, simply. There is some storyline that you can play. I don't actually know if there's like it's not like open world. It's not like you have quests that you need to complete to my memory, but you can play two different styles. You can either play like racing and speed, where you are up against other people to finish the track as quickly as you can. Or you play the more like free play trick style. I'm forgetting the terminology for it. Freestyle, thank you. The freestyle, where you would essentially do pipelines, where you would try to max out as many points as you can by competing on half pipes for like tricks. You try to do the most elaborate tricks, so you would earn the points. My intro, the super Uber, was something that you could, if you do enough tricks in a row, if you collect little things on the paths that you go on, like sometimes little items would give you boosts. You can build up your Uber meter, which is on the side of the screen. And you can either hit Uber or super Uber based off of successfully completing tricks. And then that would give you additional amplified point bonuses. Or speed boost, depending on what you wanted, in order to maximize your score. It was funny because just based off of who Chris and I are and our play style, and even growing up, I mean, in 2003, Chris was 6. And so I was 9, right? I'm doing my math correctly, or no?
I think so.
No, you were 7. You were 7, and I would be 10. So we were in elementary school playing this, but Chris was decidedly so much better at the racing portion of the games and like knowing the shortcuts to take to always eke out in front of me. So if we played together, it was always like, all right, yeah, we can play some racing tracks, but we're also doing half pipes, because then I was really, really good at all of the inputs for the tricks. So we had this balance going on where we were able to play fairly and kind of go back and forth with each other. But part of my favorite parts of the game were you had a selection of different people that you could choose from as your playable characters. There were, let's see, 3, 6, now there's 10 people that you could choose from. My name on the Discord group right now is Kaori, because that was I kind of went back and forth between Elise and Kaori, but Kaori was like my number one. I think that's the one that I unlocked the most items for. And so your characters would have snowboarding equipment and gear. And as you played the game, you would unlock more unique gear or clothing items or snowboards with print on them. And there were even cheats that you can enter in order to unlock like really random, like you could be Sasquatch, or you could have like a pumpkin head. Like there were very unique things that you could be also. Kaori, in the image I just shared, Kaori's the one in the middle in the blue and white outfit. She was like the weeby character that was always like making little noises and throwing up peace signs. I don't know. It was her, and Elise is next to her, which now I'm realizing I think I just had a crush on Elise. She was part of my bi awakening as a child. So that's
Sure.
Elise is directly next to her, the tall blonde. Apparently I have a type. So so yeah. So really there has not ever been a snowboarding game that has come out, in my opinion, that is to the caliber of SSX Tricky. SSX 3 rather. Or SSX Tricky. No, even SSX Tricky. Even SSX Tricky. Even if they came out with a remaster of SSX Tricky, I would
fantastic.
be right there. I would be right fucking there.
Yeah.
So part of what I did when I asked everybody to prepare for this was I asked them to watch a short YouTube video, listen to the soundtrack, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But then also there was a comment on one of the YouTube videos from 6 years ago that somebody said I would genuinely pay full $60 for a remaster of this game. And I was like, same.
Yep.
So fast. I would pay so fast for a remaster of this game. I miss it. The only thing, it's so funny that you guys were saying before in Gabe's segment that you would to use Dolphin as an emulator. I am a baby gamer. I play the things that I like. You will mostly find me sandboxing the same house over and over again in Sims. Like I don't play a lot of shit. I don't know how to emulate things. The only thing people say about how to access this game is that your best bet is to do it through Dolphin. And that's the first time that I've ever heard of Dolphin in my life. Was earlier today. And then you guys mentioned it earlier. And I was like, I know what that is, because it's the first time I've ever even looked at anything like that.
I have SSX 3 on my Dolphin, actually.
There you go. So, the next time you come over my house, you will have to do that for me. Like set it up, because I would love to play it. I miss it. And literally nothing has ever compared. Even skateboarding games, like nothing feels the same. Nothing is as good as SSX 3. And then just going back to the other video that I posted, one of the best things that I forgot about until researching this, that it just made me so happy, was DJ Atomica. And DJ Atomica was the DJ that would be your ambient music that you would listen to as you would play the game. And he would kind of be like, I guess he was in an earpiece or something for you to be snowboarding and listening to him. But he had all these cheeky things that he would say and just little asides. And he would be like, we know that, Kaori's racing on the Peak 1 today, or there's a matchup happening. And so he was programmed to say certain things that were just specific enough that it felt like it was a very immersive experience. But then also the soundtrack was so good. I mean, the soundtrack had everything from like Yellow Card was a part of the soundtrack. A bunch of random shit too that I'm not familiar with, but
Andy
Overseer.
Hunter's Go.
Yeah,
Go is my shit.
Yes, so that's what I mean. Like when we played it, there would be music that just instantly put us into like a headspace where we were tearing up the slopes, my dudes. Like I've never been an athletic person in my life, but I felt so sporty when I would play SSX, like completely. So anyway, it just was such a good time. I have so many great memories of playing it while we were growing up. I crave a video game like this. It doesn't exist anymore. So we'll just have to emulate it, I guess. But Chris, who did you play? I also played Moby sometimes, but not often.
Moby was my guy.
Yeah.
Could you, let's say for the people at home, but for me at home, Could you tell me in the picture who Moby is?
Moby's all the way on
All the way to the
left.
left.
Shirtless guy.
Yeah, I mean,
were you going to say the little one in blue?
Me? No, I just had no idea.
oh,
Oh, I thought you were trying to guess who Moby was. Sorry.
Moby, he's like this Australian snowboarder who just, I don't know, there's just I think you know what, I think the reason why I enjoyed playing as his character, because he had one skin that was where you could just turn his entire body green, and I was just like, that's cool.
They
I
had
wanna do that.
unique, they every character had like unique things that you could only apply to that character and unlock for them. Like I used to play Elise to an extent because I really loved some of her outfits, but I remembered that Kiori had this one outfit that included a green sweater that I like wanted the sweater in real life. I was like, I fucking love this bitch's sweater, and so I would just play Kiori and put her in the sweater because I couldn't have it. But yeah, it was just good, and it was fairly wholesome, except you could punch people out on the onset of a race or a pipeline freestyle in order to get like a speed boost and get ahead of them. So that wasn't as wholesome, but that was like the most violence that existed in the game.
It's fucking hilarious.
This is one of my favorite games of all time. I
think I covered everything.
Absolutely. So to kind of go back to what you're saying about like, there's not really like a story, but there's something called Conquer the Mountain, which is essentially the campaign mode for this game. And what you're doing the whole time is just you are completing events on each peak of the mountain. So there's the one racing event where it's all under one like banner, but there's like a couple of races that you do on each peak. And then the freestyle, you mentioned the super bike course. There's also slope style, which is like a more like, it's basically a race course, but you just do tricks on it. And then big air, which was purposefully like built to have you go up in the air and do a shit ton of tricks in the air for long periods of time as well.
Yeah, I think I did that because really that was how you did your best bet at gaining a ton of compounding like multipliers for your points, and you would just try to max the fuck out of everything.
Yeah, I think I preferred the super pipe as well. Like there's just something about that was very satisfying of like keeping the momentum of going from each side of the pipe.
So funny because I explicitly remember growing up that you were not as good at the tricks, so I would always beat you, and you'd be like, "I want to do the racing one" because you were better at the racing.
Well, I prefer the racing for sure. But if I had to pick a freestyle,
for the event, okay, I got you.
Yeah, you don't have to keep dunking on me, or
no. I was always, you know what this is? This isn't me dunking on you. This is me being bitter that you beat me at any of it.
All right, fair enough.
It's me being like, you were better at the racing games. So
one major thing about this game, and I was a little harsh on SSX Tricky here. My thing is everyone talks about SSX Tricky and how amazing it was. No one talks about SSX 3. I feel like
really.
Like whenever I listen to gaming shows or anything, like everyone brings up SSX Tricky. And don't get me wrong, it's a great fucking game, SSX Tricky. But SSX 3, what I love so much about it, and maybe this is just like weird, I don't know, it works in my brain well, but I loved how all of the courses, specifically with the racing, were connected.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is just for instance, like I always focused on the racing side of Conquer the Mountain. So I would do the 2 racing events in Peak 1, and then there was a backcountry where it's not like a formal course. It's more like you're just in the mountains, and you are snowboarding down that mountain, and that's like a race against like your rival for that peak. And then after that, you get a peak race, where the peak race is you start from the backcountry, the top of backcountry, and you make your way down, and you go through all of the backcountry. Then you go into like the first race course and the second race course in a smooth transition. Like there's no like cutscenes or traveling anywhere. You are just going straight down the entire time. The only time it transitions is like you go into a cave, and so that way it could go transition from like daytime to nighttime or something. But that's it, and it's like it's just felt so good, and the most incredible feeling I've ever had, one of the most incredible feels I've had in a video game, is starting. There's 3 peaks. starting from the very top of the mountain and going all the way down through all the race courses all at once. And they kept on cycling through the different music as well as you're going through each course. It is, and like, especially as you see the timer go down, because it's like a time trial versus like an actual race. And beating that time when you make it to the bottom, because it takes you like 45 minutes to do the entire thing. It's awesome. It was just, it made me feel so good. It was so satisfying, and so much about this game is just so just feels so good to this day. I'm kind of with Kels where like I don't know, I don't think a skateboarding game has really spoken to me, but I haven't tried enough to really like say that like for certain for me. But I like no game of this caliber of like in like the sports genre has hit for me as much as SSX3 has. So I love that you picked this one because it just works.
And just to that point, just a quick snippet from the Wikipedia says, non-video game publications sang the praises of the game. Entertainment Weekly gave the PS2 version an A and said that all of the smooth music, along with the Uber and Super Uber combo tricks, will have you stumbling away from the console at 4 a.m., your fingers aching and your voice hoarse. And then Playboy gave every single version of it a score of 100%. I don't know why Playboy was reviewing this game. That's a little weird. But they said, while other snowboarding games run out of steam mid-shred, the SSX series continues to gain momentum. Yeah. And it's just such, with that kind of positive and glowing review and fan base that extended beyond like your normie video game culture, I cannot believe that they've dropped the ball on it. Like, I don't know what happened. Yeah, I don't know where it went.
It had SSX on tour, and then they had SSX Blur, and then they rebooted it in 2012, and that didn't end up hitting for people. So they've had like 3 different SSX.
Well, that means it's been 11 years because the latest release of SSX was February of 2012.
Yeah.
So they need to bring back 3.
You gotta try again.
They got to bring back 3 specifically.
Anyone else have anything to say about SSX3?
Guys, this feels like fucking snowboarding like arcade game I wanted in my home.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You I think you had SSX Tricky, right, Matt? Welsh, rather?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay, never mind. I thought I remember going to someone's house and be like, "Oh, you had Tricky." Never mind.
Yeah.
Turned into a Polish grandmother.
Clive is here. Has arrived on this
Crispy.
podcast. Crispy. Yeah. One more note, real quick, and then we'll move on. But one weird Easter egg. I don't know. I forget if it was for SSX on tour or SSX Blur, but in one of the newer SSX games, if you played on a Nintendo console, you could play as Mario and like a couple of the other.
Oh my god.
Nintendo characters. So
that's crazy.
I'm like, I'm kind of angry because I'm like, I got like the PlayStation version, I think, of one of them, and I could not play as Mario. I was just like, this is bullshit. This is complete ass. I forbid this.
Do you remember that you could ride? They actually had like the loading screen where you were riding in the little snow lift up to the top of the mountain.
Yes.
That's the GIF that I posted, and that's Kaori. That was her like idol movement, and that's why I'm saying that she was a major weeb, because she did shit like that all the time. Anthony, did you play it?
Yes, I was actually gonna try and squeeze in some quick thoughts before we moved on.
No, yeah, go ahead.
But I remember getting this game for Christmas, and this game made that Christmas. Like, when I think back about like video games and Christmas, getting this and just experiencing it over Christmas break was one of the best memories that I have. And what struck me about the game was the tone was so drastically different from SSX Tricky. Like, in SSX Tricky, it was generally just like, silly, fun. Everybody's just here and having a blast. SSX3 kind of started off that way, but as you went to Mountains 2 and then 3, the tone seemed to get a lot more like serious and dire. with like scarier courses and darker conditions and harsher storms.
And the music too. The music and DJ Atomica the tone would change.
Yeah, it was like you felt like you were in danger. So cool. Such a cool game. I will gladly play this again.
Hell yeah.
Get on it, EA.
Before we get to the mid-seg, let me tell you about our sponsor. Hi everyone, it's Chris, and I'm back once again to tell you all about Anchor. Anchor by Spotify has actually been the tool of choice for Team Chaos Productions since the moment we decided to get into podcasting. And the biggest reason for this is it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or even your phone. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, but also Apple Podcasts and many more. And best of all, Anchor is free. You do not need to worry about any features being locked out to you. You can get it all if you just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Happy podcasting. I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt, and we're the Virtual Ball Boys.
During the NFL season, we will talk about the games and headlines on everyone's minds. Plus, we give our predictions for the weeks ahead.
In the offseason, we run our own fictional football league with tabletop gameplay mechanics.
Like that, listen to the Virtual Ball Boys on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, and we will see you on the show.
Good night and good ball.
All right, we're back. Walsh, do we have a mid-seg?
Do.
Let's do it.
Are you all ready to draw?
Oh no.
Hell
What?
yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Hello. I've gone back to the autocomplete in my phone. Today, we're going to be drawing some scenarios. Still there?
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. I'm sending these to you for now.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
Is this phrased intentionally?
At all. It is your interpretation. Some of them make little to no sense.
Okay. Is there like a timer? Like, are you going to tell us, okay, go, or we just
go
start?
for it. And then
Okay.
I'm already drawn.
we'll cut from here to where it is when we are done. All right. Now that
We drew those really fast.
all of the
Yeah.
artwork is done and ready. You guys ready to guess what my phone brain could have created? You ready?
Oh,
Here we have
I kind of figured that
We're
was
going to be starting
what
with
was
Chris's
happening.
artwork today.
Mhm.
Today's bidding will start at $1 million.
As it should.
Oh my God. Christopher, I love you so much.
Anybody like to take a guess? That's what we're looking at.
Is that... Yes. If I may.
Go for it.
Is that a business Mr. Pac-Man? Does he have like a briefcase and a tie?
Those are my thoughts as well.
Pac-Man returns home to his wife, the ghost, from work.
That's good too.
Very good. Anybody else have any other guesses?
I only see business Pac-Man.
You know, that's pretty fair. What would you think would be funny if I had
Um,
you guys read out what this was, or me?
Like in unison, like you share it and then we all read it together, like we're on a game show.
I meant the artist.
The artist.
Oh,
I have
'cause
one more
I-
guess.
Go for it.
It was like Family
Go-
Feud
go-
style.
Go ahead.
Uh,
Kathy.
Pac-Man joined a candle-selling MLM, and this is his first attempted sale. But the potential customer is way too excited, and Pac-Man feels like perhaps he saw him in a different context at one point, and now he's really
Wait,
anxious.
shit, that was it.
That was exactly it.
I
Verbatim,
always-
actually.
I always read. I read in my head. I think in my head, MLM is like men loving men. Maybe that's just what I want it to be in my heart. Chris, can you say what?
That's what.
Really.
That's
I
the
think that's
preferred
telling
version.
of your search history.
Chris, Chris, can you tell the audience what your prompt was?
Sure. Pac-Man
Oh.
has been doing doing a job interview with the guy who has been working for the first few weeks, so he's not doing well.
Aw. Aw.
Let's see.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say that I'm fine with us individually reading out our things as, the artists themselves, but I also kind of like the chaos of it being like Family Feud style, where you give it to us and we all have to say it together. Like it goes bing on the board.
All right, next one.
Oh, Pac-Man
Okay, cool.
interview man when he
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, that's gonna be horrible for the
Alright, this
audio,
one
but
was-
that's
this
fine.
Oh
was
my
submitted
god.
by,
Oh my god.
Mr. Matthew.
It's Darth Vader being the pianist at a birthday party.
That's verbatim of what I was gonna say, pretty much.
Anybody
Love
else have
it.
any other details they wanted to add? I mean, even if you get the nail on the head here, I'm just curious.
I'm my only thing I'll throw in is that maybe he's singing, and that's it. That's if there's a singing part of the sentence, but otherwise, I think Kelsey nailed it.
Yeah, he's the performer at the birthday
Yes.
party, but he's a musical
I think
performer.
that's pretty
Yeah.
good. Matt,
That's pretty close.
what was your prompt?
All right. All together
Oh, we're
now.
not family feuding style.
All together
anymore?
now.
Oh,
Okay.
Darth
Ready?
Vader
Darth
Vader
Vader plays
plays
the best song
the best
ever.
song
ever,
And he
and
has
he
a
has a
great
great
song.
song,
And
and
then
then
he's
he's singing
singing
together
to
to celebrate his
celebrate his
birthday.
birthday. This is podcast hell. This is
Yeah,
not like the best recording.
I'm gonna just say this right now. Never
Wait,
again.
Never
We're not
again.
doing that
Wait.
again.
We could have had a fucking countdown. Matt was like, "Okay, here we go, everybody," and then we all had to do that. There could have been a countdown. You're a music guy. You could have conducted that better.
Maybe I could have. With delay, it was not going
You
to sound
set
good no
us
matter
up
what.
for failure.
Did not.
All right. In case you didn't hear it, it says Darth Vader plays the best song ever. That he has a great song, and then he sings it all together to celebrate his birthday. So that worked.
There you
That
go.
To be
was
fair, my
actually-
prompt is much shorter, so it would have. I didn't anticipate that anybody's was this long.
It's a good thing
Fair
you
enough,
mentioned
fair
the
enough.
prompt, because next up is an artist that I think you'll like.
Sonic cuts your hair.
Sonic gives a haircut to a sad girl.
Sonic gives a bad haircut.
I don't think that this was Matt's intention, but he was like, Sonic gives a haircut to a sad girl. It sounded like slightly more.
It sounds like the places
something.
you kept ending up while looking for like I was about to say, looking for
Yeah.
fucking jokes.
Yeah.
Else would you like to start? Oh, yeah.
Does anybody else have any?
Sonic
No.
tries to fundraise for Locks of Love and has the overall spirit of it, but hasn't quite worked out all the
I love
minutiae
Sonic
yet.
songs.
Did you not hear me say that mine was much shorter? All right, everyone. On the count of 3. 1, 2,
Fair enough.
3.
Sonic
goes
goes
to
to
get
get
my
my
haircut.
My
haircut.
haircut.
See, it's
That
not
was
too easy,
much
is it?
better, but it was much better than what happened
We were
don't
still
know.
all at different speeds.
The only
I-
reason it sounded better was because it was shorter.
No, but we had much more unison, and then you know what? Fuck everyone. It's fine. So Chris hit it almost exactly where it was Sonic. He said Sonic goes to get your haircut. And I was like, yep, Sonic goes to get my haircut.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
This is,
Whatever, guys.
we will now be ending. We put a lot of work into this last one,
Sure.
a lot of time and effort. So I'm
Sure.
hoping that I did with my fucking caption. I don't know about Anthony. But
Yeah.
here we go.
Oh my god, I love you so much.
I love
Breaking news: eggs now worthless.
Mario smashes Yoshi's egg, and Yoshi leaves sad.
Yoki.
Yoki leaves sad.
Yoki.
I love Mario. You suck.
Mario mad at the current egg crisis, which apparently exists that I didn't know about, but keep reading through memes but haven't seen. Apparently, there's an egg crisis. I don't get it.
Oh, I guess so. All right, I didn't know about
The cost
that.
of eggs is atrocious right now.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
I'm gonna go with it. Chris's was pretty spot on, I think.
I
Remember
think
this
at the
one
very
you
least.
watch.
Wait, no, I have another one. I have another one.
Sure.
Mario. This is. I don't even know if your phone would get this specific, but I feel
Sure.
like Mario was relying on Yoshi for the worth of their eggs, like as income. And now that the
This is way
market
too
has
detailed.
tanked, Mario's pissed and taking it out on Yoshi, even though
Wow.
it's not Yoshi's fault.
Sure.
Did somebody send that to her?
So we're all going to say that sentence at the same time, right?
Right, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you all know me, big finance bro. I got all the finance terminology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
Alright.
mean. I don't think the AI is actually going to come up with that, but that's what I'm seeing here.
Anthony, can you post the prompt?
Yes, and we're going to do this one a little bit differently. Everybody's going to race to read this one as fast as you can.
All right,
All right,
drop
I'm
it.
ready. I'm ready.
No! All right, we're cutting that out of the podcast.
Fuck you, Anthony.
No!
Wait a second.
Fuck you, Anthony.
Not what I said.
Ready? I was ready.
He screwed us so bad. He totally fucked us. Oh my god, we all fell for it. Oh my god.
This
I
podcast
didn't
is going on
even-
way too fucking long.
I did not even anticipate that would actually happen. Oh my god. I did not think that he would try to capitalize on this.
Oh my
I saw the first word. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh.
Okay. All right, I'll give you the
Oh
real
my
one now.
God. We're
I'm
all
not even
gonna
gonna read
hesitate
it.
now.
I'm not going to read it.
Yoshi leaves her a little bit after the whole day was a lot.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
This is everything with Mario was very everything with
lot.
the eggs and Mario were all just extra details.
Sucker.
Well, the whole day was a lot.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay. Whew. I
Oh,
don't know
God.
how I'm even gonna handle that part in the editing. If I'm just gonna leave it in and people.
You
just
what you
leave
can
their
do? Can
opinions.
you just beep over us reading it because it happens so quickly, and then you can
Sure.
just leave in the chaos of it.
Yeah.
All right, so I have 2 beeps. That's 2 beeps on the counter.
I'm gonna send
Sure.
you right now.
To remember. Oh my god, my stomach hurts. Holy fuck!
That was so good.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Anyways, well, that
Anthony,
was that.
you fucking weasel.
I will. So let's go ahead and jump in. That was a fun little party, just like we were partying back in 2007 with Wii Sports. Matt, tell us about Wii Sports.
You know
You like that?
fuck everybody, because you guys are bringing up games that I wish I fucking had as a kid. You go to a friend's house and it's like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck am I looking at? You saw I remember going over a friend's house and seeing Sonic Adventure, and I was like, that's weird. As now growing up, I'm like, I wish I had that shit. That shit looks fucking awesome. I want a fucking arcade game of fucking snowboarding. I can only get that shit at Chuck E. Cheese. But I feel like everybody had Wii Sports. It was just this collective mind meld, which is why I didn't really give many notes to you guys, because I feel like you guys know Wii Sports, and I feel like everybody, whether you were a gamer or not, maybe you were just everybody and their parents loves Wii Sports. It's just it.
It has the hit factor.
I mean, I do feel like boxing and probably golf fell a bit to the wayside. But between tennis, bowling, maybe a little baseball, fucking fantastic, man. Dude, that's really it. I mean, introduction of the Wii. I had a fucking blast. You played it enough when they kept track of experience. If you got to 2,000 experience, you were like a professional.
Did you ever do the getting the different colored bowling balls and stuff like that?
Yeah, so if you became a professional, you had a certain amount of experience. You got a shiny bowling ball, and then I think similar things in other games. But I only got to that in bowling. I know my sibling got to that in tennis. I think they maybe got a shiny tennis racket. I'm not too sure. And of course, they also had the stuff where you could do like mini games and challenges, whether it be hitting the tennis ball against the target, or doing bowling with trick shots, or bowling against huge fucking things of pins and knocking down hundreds of pins. I think it was just a blast. And then you get your, I don't know, your age. It's like, you're slow, you're 56. And it's like, but I'm 7. Yeah, really just starting up the insulting the user for Wii Fit would come along.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's a blast. And really enjoyed Wii Sports, and I think just being able to, it was just this like common language between children, because the Wii was also so popular too. And like, I have the oldest Xbox known to man. It came with your fucking Xbox. Everybody had Wii Sports, and so it was just like, Wii Sports, yeah, let's play it. Like, you went over somebody's house, they have like 3 games. Wii Sports is one of them. Let's fucking play it. And then, my mom one time wasn't wearing the strap one time, and she threw the Wii out of the TV, but at like the cabinet holding the TV. It almost broke the glass, but pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I have no cool lore. I like making these.
You didn't piss off anybody on Twitter over it?
No.
Fucking
Or
Matt
Reddit.
Me's Twitter. He was hyping up Wii Sports 2 forever.
Then he got fired.
Yeah, they were hyping up Wii Sports Resort, and
yeah, right.
hyping up that new Wii, like Switch Sports. I don't even know what they're calling it.
I feel Nintendo Switch Sports. Yeah,
I feel so fucking removed from video games, so it's nice to just be like, or Wii Sports. Just like, not even like that it was just like a fun game because it was, but to me, it was just like such commonplace in everybody's home. It was just like, of course. We all know. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
My mom knows.
Yeah. Wii Sports is like, it is a classic. I definitely think I grew to love other Wii games, like other Wii. There was a Wii series of games, and in the Wii series of games, I would not put like Wii Sports among my favorites, but it's just a classic, and it was such a like peek into what the Wii could do. I think there are some that would argue that the Wii maybe never like reached its like potential in terms of like, what it could have done with games, but just a simple thing like the sport with how you play games in that way, and play and like, hey, we could compete in tennis by flinging the Wii remote around. It was kind of like this new innovative peak in video games, and obviously it sold like fucking hotcakes. So everyone, like you said, every household had had a Wii and had Wii Sports.
I remember waking up. I also remember waking up, but my birthday, I believe it was my 11th birthday, so it wasn't like when the Wii first came out, because like you said, they were selling like hotcakes. I got it for my birthday, and the next morning I woke up before anybody and set the whole Wii up. Probably why every grandparent thinks that, the oldest boy is the electrician of the house, and or the IT of the house, and I set that shit up, and we just played this shit out of Wii Sports. This wasn't as long of a story as I thought it was.
It's okay.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just so universal, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like the go-tos for me with the Wii were like, it was Wii Party and Wii Music. Like that was my shit. But yeah, Wii Sports is also great, and I actually think I prefer Wii Sports Resort a lot too. But
there's no question Wii Sports Resort is better.
Yeah, but yeah, it is such a classic. I think everyone had like a specific sport that they hung on to, that they loved. Even like, I know you mentioned boxing as being like maybe one of the more unpopular ones, but even now with the Nintendo Switch Sports that came out, like there's people who are like, man, it would be cool if they had boxing in this game.
Oh, it would be so cool.
Yeah, like it's so there's definitely like, I think everyone had like that thing that they really loved. Like golf was added recently, and people love that. For what I saw, people enjoy that mode.
Oh my god, I have
But
like
yeah.
a vivid memory of like an older family friend teaching me how to like, curve the ball in bowling. It's like holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, game changer. Absolutely. Anyone have fond memories of Wii Sports that they would like to discuss? Yeah,
Not much else to say about it, honestly.
No
Yeah.
fun. That's like he just asked, does anybody have beautiful memories of ever seeing a sunset? Like everybody's everybody's had
Yeah.
fun playing Wii Sports.
In
Yeah.
my dreams, Wii Sports Matt will occasionally show up and hand me my own ass.
Sure, fair.
Yeah.
I think that's all of us. He haunts. I am. I definitely love it. It definitely is something that stays with me in a way that like, man, I just miss the Wii era of Nintendo where like the Switch is great and obviously like it has some of my favorite games of all time on it, but I miss the Wii had personality in a way that I don't know the
Yeah.
Switch, or at least the Switch doesn't have as much personality compared to it. And I love that era so much. Just how I miss an era of Frontier developments. You may or may not know them as the developers of Planet Coaster. They are the developers of Roller Coaster. Well, they're not really the developers of Roller Coaster Tycoon, but they did pick up the development on that front. Um, but from Chris Sawyer, who originally created the series. But there was one moment in time where they focused on a different type of amusement park simulator, and that's where we'll get to my game here, Thrillville, off the rails. This was a very different type of amusement park simulator where most of these kind of sandboxy simulation games were very much like, hey, top down, we're gonna go ahead and uh just build whatever you want, change the landscape however you want, add in the stalls, try to please guests by making sure that everyone's hungry and has a toilet, and or not hungry rather. And they put in some fun thrill rides and that, and like just focus on the building aspect of these games and maintaining your park. And that's great. And I love Roller Coaster Tycoon so much from my time as a kid. But Thrillville was different because while it did have a lot of those elements, there was a little bit more uh a little bit more of a narrative to it that's very silly. But also the key thing is, instead of being top down, you are God creating these parks, you are just a normal person walking around in these parks. You are on the ground, going into stalls, going into games or riding the rides, and you are uh basically you're just like a regular guest, but you are in charge of the park. You are in charge of maintaining it. But you can maintain it. You can do things like build and hire staff and run marketing campaigns. But the other aspect of it was the fact that you had a mission structure to it. Ultimately, Thrillville was a concept. This is going into the story here. Thrillville is a concept where this scientist guy who's meant to be Doc Brown, essentially named Mortimer. He is this He's the scientist of fun. He is the guy that is going to try to take fun ideas for rides and make them a reality. And in Thrillville Off the Rails, which is the sequel, he took it to another level where you can have coasters just straight up crash, and that's your ride. But people enjoy that, and it's considered like a positive that you have a coaster that is gonna fly up into the air and everyone has to parachute out of it. And the whole game and the mission structure revolves around the rival of Thrillville, which is Globo Joy. And Global Joy, they're a theme park built around making things that are really boring fun. Like, you want to go fold socks, you go to Global Joy. You want to like wash your toilet, you go to Global Joy. And but you stop them in the first game. You basically shut them down in the first game, but in the second game they have now taking it to the next level of really trying to sabotage your park, which leads to really fun mission ideas here. So these missions kind of revolve around, you can build stalls and rides and all that. There's a games portion where you are building arcade games that you can actually play. They have all these different types of properties in the Thrillville universe, that were really that they ended up really embracing throughout the series. And again, it's just 2 games, but still, like, they really put a lot of attention to detail into every single one of these arcade games. There's the guest missions. You can go up and interact with guests. You can flirt with guests, which gets kind of creepy if you play as a little kid and you flirt with an adult. Although I actually would want to go back and see if they did try to age restrict that, because that is weird.
To my knowledge and to me remembering, I believe only the teen characters could flirt with each other.
Then Thrillville had the right idea, and there's nothing problematic about it. But but it was such a unique idea, because then a lot of the missions involve talking to people and you challenge them to games, or you actually, in Thrillville Off the Rails, you had the ability to take control of some of these characters to help and do a mission involving that character. Like, they had this extra layer of depth that was just really fascinating for an amusement park simulator, where, again, most of the biggest names in that genre are all about just top-down God mode. And again, not to say that that's a bad thing, but it was just such a unique take. And there was also like upkeep missions where you actually take on the role of mechanics and handymen and cheerleaders, and
the cheerleader DDR mini games were very fun.
You do mini games to maintain your park. Like, every detail had so much love poured into it, and that's not something that you necessarily would have expected to, other than like in other games you're just hiring them and you plop them down. In this game, you're like, no, you become them, and you're doing these fun mini games and getting high scores on them. But just to talk about like specific details with Off the Rails, like, or with Thrillville in general, I guess the biggest thing that probably holds Thrillville back, and why they probably didn't continue the series in some ways, that they had a lot of preset. The whole game is like preset parks. You have a park that you are in, and then each park has 3 sub parks that are already decorated, they're already set up, and you can only build in specific places. So you're not really in charge of decorating, you're in charge of placing things down for people, but if you have a vision for a park, that's not really what this game is. It is, you are taking charge of parks that already exist. But what I love so much about that was they had some really creative ideas for parks. One park in particular, which I pointed out before we went on the podcast and in our document, was something called Thrillville Giants, which I think is my favorite park in the game. And it's essentially it's like all the parks, they're separated into 3 parks, 3 sub parks rather. So there's Candyville, Lawnville, and I want to say it's like Homeville or something along those lines is the third one. But it's like when you go into those parks, it's like everyone is like ants to like this giant like candy machines, and like a pastry chef like looms almost over the park in a very sinister, weird way. It's all the whole game is a little off-putting. It is not the best looking game out there by a long stretch. But you have that, and you have the Homeville had like you are ants crawling on the ground of a living room where there's like a giant baby and a giant cat, I want to say, in it.
What the?
And then there's It's wild. It is so bizarre of a concept, but it worked for me. It was so cool, and I want to point out Lawnville because it was the most boring of the 3 subparks, but the something that I noticed when doing research for this is that they have like the Lawnville is like you're in a backyard. It's kind of like grounded, I guess, in a way where you're you look and there's like a giant tree that has a giant tire swing on it, or you go near a pond and like someone's trying to catch like a giant frog that's in the pond. They to connect each of the subparks, there's these tunnels, and when you're in a specific subpark, the tunnels have like themed entrances to them. One of the entrances was a doghouse, and on that doghouse, on near the top, was a name that said Jake. And I saw that for a second. I was like, oh, that's funny because that's the same name of the protagonist of Dog's Life.
Right.
Frontier developed Dog's Life.
Oh my god.
I really forgot about that. And I was just like, holy shit, this is a fucking reference to Dog's Life. Granted, it was like only like 3 or 4 years after Dog's Life came out, but it still blew my mind. I was like, oh, they do remember this game. Holy shit. Like
Holy shit, Adventure Time. Jake the dog.
Yeah, Jake the dog, right. No, not Adventure Time. Not the more famous dog, Jake, I guess. But anyways, that's a little tangent, but I just love the way that these parks are designed. There's a lot of different themes that they pull off. They actually have a whole sub park in one of the areas where that's actually themed around one of their key arcade games. And I just think that's really cool that they just so hardcore embrace these all these different properties that they have created just for this experience, and it makes me long so much for a amusement park sim that's like this in some capacity. But before I even go even further in that, I do want to open the floor for anyone who wants to talk about Thrillville Off the Rails.
This is one of those games that makes me convinced that Chris and I are the same person because I also played the shit out of this game. And I revisited it a few years ago, and really liked it. The coaster building was more frustrating than I remembered, just because like the pieces didn't go in all the exact spots that you wanted it, and you feel like it should go there, and then it doesn't, and it's a whole big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all the mini games were really fun. Well, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
It's not an amazing game, I'll be honest. I love it very much, though.
The mini golf was great. There were a few like bumper cars, and really any of the 4v4 game or the 4-person like free for all games.
Mm-hmm.
All of those were really solid. Like you could get away with that being like, oh, these are some like Mario Party mini games. Like those were all pretty solid games. I could not fucking stand that anime ass platform shooter.
Oh, Sparkle Island
that you had to complete for submissions.
Yes.
It is such a poorly designed minigame. I hate it so much.
Well, that's actually the arcade game that they based that one section off.
Yeah,
of
and it sucks.
Usagieville, which I do love the aesthetic of it, but I'm with you.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But,
though. It's not an amazing arcade game for sure.
Mini golf good though. One of my favorite iterations of mini golf in a video game.
I agree.
I played this. I think I was a little bit young, so I don't remember everything. Gotta tell you though, the thing I most remember about playing this game was going around park, being nervous about flirting with people, and always just hearing that one song called "Suddenly I See."
Yes.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
Suddenly I see.
They had licensed music for this game.
And that was all I'd hear all the fucking time playing it, and I fucking loved that song, and I just fucking forgot it. And I think my brain doesn't really remember lyrics a lot of the time, or doesn't process lyrics as a language. I'm just like, and for a while I forgot Thrillville existed, and then I had so much trouble trying to explain to people like, oh man, I remember playing this game, and you build like a roller coaster, and you build a park, and they're like, Roller Coaster Tycoon? Oh, no, it's Roller Coaster Tycoon you're thinking. No, it's not. It's not. Then finally remembering Thrillville maybe a couple years ago. I'm like, oh my god!
It exists. This is not just like a fucking fever dream. Yeah. Like licensed music was good. That there was also a Miley Cyrus song that was on there that was also very good. I forget which one was that. It was not like I don't think it's one of like her well-known songs. It was also she was very early in her career.
Are you sure it wasn't Hannah Montana? And
It could have been. It could have been.
They often get confused.
It also could not have been Miley Cyrus. There's a chance. There's a brief chance that it might not have been Miley Cyrus. But I just remember. I remember associating. I remember hearing her voice and being like, "Oh yeah, that's Miley Cyrus." But yeah, it is. This is not a perfect game by any stretch, and I especially I revisited my Let's Play on it from a couple years back now, and yeah, the visuals for me are like, especially when you're running, are very not great.
Oh, the motion blur out the ass. It is like insane.
Not good.
It is markedly like what the hell is going on?
I will say, speaking on the roller coaster building, I'm with you where it's like, oh my god, it's so frustrating. What they did with Off the Rails, where they give you, sometimes it didn't work, but when they give you the ability to like, hey, we'll auto complete your coaster.
Yeah,
I abused the crap out of that.
Absolutely.
I was just like, I did what I needed to do for this specific mission. Just please finish this coaster. I cannot look at it anymore, please. But yeah, it's so good, and I talked about this on a video recently, but I would love a more fleshed out amusement park simulator similar to Planet Coaster and Roller Coaster Tycoon, with and blend that with the hey, you're on the ground and walking around your park gameplay of Thrillville. I just feel like it's something that Frontier could pull off, and it's been 7 years since Planet Coaster was released. I know they've been really working on expansion packs for it. It's a great game. But I really want to see them. Maybe they can build on the concepts that they had with Thrillville, because it's something special. This game was published by LucasArts though, so I'm curious if LucasArts has the rights to it. We'll see. I don't know, but I really would love to see another iteration of this or something similar to come in the future. Speaking of LucasArts, there are at least Lucasfilms. There's a popular IP, you may have not heard of it. It's called Star Wars, and there is some popular video games that have come out that are revolving around Star Wars, including Star Wars Battlefront 2,
Battle for Bikini Bottom,
Battlefront 2, and Matt, finally, you're gonna talk about it.
All right, so I think out of our little friend group here, I think I am the biggest Star Wars guy out of the group.
Matt, I will say, Matt, I gave you the Darth Vader one because I genuinely did not know if anybody else in this group has seen the films.
I love Star Wars.
Okay. I did not know.
Yeah, Kelsey and Anthony have seen it. I am the one. I think I'm the odd one out that I have not seen it.
Okay, I am also a big Star Wars fan, but continue.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure, because some people I like geek out about Star Wars too, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, please have one more thing on the list of what you geek out to me, please.
Okay. So, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a very fun video game. I played the shit out of it. I think it had online capability back then, but I had a PS2 and wasn't in the mood to try that shit out. And it was probably for the best that I never went online with that. But it was your standard shooter type game where you would have different sides. Each map was either a Clone Wars map or it was a I forgot what the war was called, but the Rebel War map. So either the prequel trilogy or the original trilogy, you could play out either one. And then the Clone Wars was the clones versus the droids, and then the Rebel War was the rebels versus the Imperial Army. And each faction had the different versions of the same class. You had your standard shooter, you had your your heavy artillery, so like a fucking rocket launcher. You had a sniper. You had an engineer who could like do a few different things, and then each one had like 2 special classes that you could do. Um, I always played as the droids whenever I could, just because I thought playing as robots was cool. And you got to be the fucking one of the special ones was the fucking droidicas from the prequels.
Oh yeah,
The dudes that roll around with the shields. Love those guys. Just very fun game overall, and then plus the mode of that was in one of the like free play modes, specifically on Mos Eisley. You could do the basically a hero mode face off throughout the game and throughout certain points, like when you complete objectives. In the base game, you have the option to play as a hero character for either like the light side or the dark side, and usually it was like a Jedi. No, you don't get a lightsaber unless you unlock this hero character. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, for example, in a Clone Wars thing. And once you did that, you got like you basically like were hot shit. You tore down the enemy. It was a fun time. There's a mode in Mos Eisley that's you just play as the hero characters. And you go like all the light side characters from the Clone Wars and the original trilogy versus all the dark side characters from the Clone Wars and the original trilogy. It was like first to 180 kills wins, and it was just a fun fucking time to do that. I think that was my most played mode for sure. It also had a story mode, very specifically about. I gotta find the fucking hold on the name of the unit. Group of clones, like a faction of clones. 501st. That's it. The 501st Legion, who were like the hot shit of clones at the time. I will go on record and say that the best Star Wars content is the animated Star Wars: The Clone Wars series. It has that now. That has some stinkers. Like it's not like a fully good show because it's an anthology type show. But when it's good and when it focuses on like Jedi shit and why how the Clone Wars affects clones themselves and how the Jedi Order is kind of just as corrupt as the Separatists, like it gets into like what I think are like the very core themes of Star Wars, which is war is fucking shit and everybody is at fault. There are no winners. But the part of that includes Order 66, which has gone from it existing in Episode 3, which is a very mediocre movie, to being the single greatest moment in all of Star Wars, in my opinion. And part of the story mode of playing as the 501st is going through Order 66. So you are fighting on the side of the Jedi for a while, and then Order 66 happens, and then you are Imperial Stormtroopers and not clone troopers anymore. And that kind of dichotomy of like turning from the good guys to the bad guys and following that order of events from their perspective is really fucking cool. I did not like it as a kid because I was very righteous of like, oh, I want to play the good guys all the time. But like looking back on it, and I actually have it on Steam. It is on Steam, and the version that's on Steam is fucking brilliant. I really, really highly recommend it. And I got it for like $2. Like it goes on sale a lot. Overall, very fun game. Graphics hold up pretty decently overall for it being a 2005 game. I just really dig this game. I really love Star Wars.
Yeah. And yeah, any thoughts from? I feel like I have. This is probably the first time that I don't know how much I really could contribute to this because I'm not very well versed in Star Wars. I will say the environments are very pretty. But yeah, for anyone else, if you have any thoughts,
I had on the original Xbox, I had the first one, Star Wars Battlefront. And if either I'm misremembering, maybe I just didn't play it right as a kid. But I don't believe they had the heroes in it, the first one. So it was, you play in.
I don't think it did either because it was an inferior game.
So you play as
All right.
yeah. I'm just gonna let that one slide. No, so you play as either side, and it's just a fucking blast. And I think I always had the most fun playing the prequel wars because it was like, oh, either you're like cool droids or you're cool clones, and they, they're all outfitted differently, and it's like, ugh. And if I'm playing the original trilogy, I'm just some guy with a gun. Boo. Yeah, they were a fucking blast to play through. I remember playing Capture the Flag, or I guess that's what it was, and because they had all the different positions.
Yeah, there was Capture the Flag. There was the main mode was like just capturing command bases.
Yeah, I loved playing that. I didn't have an online, I didn't have online at all either, but I fucking loved that. I would just sit. That was my comfort game. I would just sit and play it and just capture stations. I'm watching gameplay of it now, and it's making me extremely nostalgic and makes me want to sit down and play it, but I don't have it in my life anymore. It makes me sad. But yeah, it's fucking fantastic. I probably put a lot of hours into it. And looking back, you've opened up another part of my childhood that was a blast.
We need to get Walsh a Steam Deck. I feel like that's kind of perfectly up his alley.
You can get me...
Just got a fucking MacBook.
Yeah, you need to get me...
Holding him back.
A fucking anything.
Give me a fucking anything.
It's like a medium, whatever.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
I have nothing because I'm a fairly, in the scope of Star Wars, I'm a fairly recent fan. I only watched the original 3 movies within the last decade, and then watched the most recent trilogy.
Oh man,
I've not played any of the games.
Missing out with the prequels, man.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are. They're fucking hilarious. You have to watch them. They're so fucking funny.
To be fair, I also watched the original. I watched episodes 4, 5, and 6 on like whatever copies we could get online, and they were very evidently terrible edits. So like at one point we're watching it, and Jabba the Hutt's like where he's supposed to be, and then all of a sudden he's upside down and in the left corner. Like as we're watching it. So like the originals were also hilarious for us unintentionally because they were fucked up. And I've read the full plot points of the prequels just so that I have the context. I will not be spending my time watching them.
No, like literally, like they're not good movies. However, they're the best. They're the best movies thematically.
Right.
The themes that the movies explore are fucking brilliant. And that's why you should watch the animated Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Now, Matt, I
probably should.
Ask,
Yes.
Were you talking? I think I know which one you're talking about. But are you talking about the one that had the theatrical release when they were not meaning for it to be theatrical, or the Genndy Tartakovsky one?
The former one, actually.
Yeah. Saw that.
Because that's
nerds.
That's the one. Well, that
really.
Fucking hellcurs. So like that's like the beginning of that series. The movie itself sucks, and most of season 1 is like very hard to watch. Once season 2 hits, it's amazing. And it like the way that it explores like the war that's going on, B Anakin Skywalker becomes the best character in the entire franchise when he was originally like he's so bad in the prequels.
A whiny baby.
He's a whiny baby who can't emote. But then in the fucking animated show, he's incredible. The guy who voices Obi-Wan is the same guy who voices Johnny Test.
Crazy.
Which is weird. They don't sound alike. But then like just like Anakin's descent into Darth Vader. This is more me talking about Star Wars: The Clone Wars now because I need people to watch it. But that shit's great. Ahsoka Tano is a character introduced in that who is also an incredible character who goes from kind of like a more of a spoiled kid to like a true Jedi in her own right, but also not. I don't know. It's fantastic. I really really recommend watching it. And even just like the best part about it is motherfucking D. Bradley Baker,
Yeah.
Who, if you've ever watched an animated show with an animal in it, he's probably the one who did the animal noise. But
that's a very unique thing to be known for.
Yeah, like he does the Perry the Platypus like thing.
I never watched that show, but I believe you.
All right. But he voices every clone.
Okay. Cool.
He is the voice for every clone. And the fact that you know that he's the voice for all of them, and you know that they all have the same voice, and you feel like they're different people, is a fucking marvel of voice acting. And I need to bring more attention to it just because of how incredible that specific fact is. Go watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Play Star Wars Battlefront 2.
All right. Next episode, favorite villain. All right. In honor of in honor of Valentine's Day, which I think we've been doing character focused ones. I think villain very much leads into the Valentine's Day vibes, if you know what I mean. But anyways, that's it. Don't say what. We all know. We all know that villains are, you know what, Bowser. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
You'll understand. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Game on. The Gaming Coop is brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Follow us on Twitter at The Gaming Coop, or follow our other work at Team Chaos Pods.